Welcome to Salcedo Paranormal. It is Tuesday, March 1st, 2022, and today I will be sharing true ghost stories from the web. As always, you can find episodes and links to social media, ways to donate, and other links to ways to contact me on the podcast page, which is salcedoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal dot podbean.com. Always looking to hear from you all, whether you have topic suggestions or comments or questions on episodes, or you would like to share your experiences or those of experiences of others that you trust, either in a written format or if you would like to appear on the show, on the live stream, we can arrange that as well, especially if we can do that over Discord. That would be great. If not, we can arrange special episodes where we will just record without the stream. But I always like to include everyone when possible. So, and I believe that covers all of that. Looking forward to these stories that I found earlier today. And we'll be doing this again tomorrow night. So it should be interesting. And so I think that covers everything. Everything is working okay, as far as I can tell anyway. So let's get to these stories. Thank you all for listening as always, whether it's to the live stream or to the podcast feed or the YouTube videos. I appreciate it no matter how you listen. Just so you all know, that if you want to be part of the stream in a way, through text chat, the best way to do that is to join my Discord server, and that's where everyone is at when I do these streams. Anyone that's able to make it anyway, and it's pretty amazing the comments that come through here whenever there's people in the chat. Great ideas, great other thoughts on explanations for these stories. Just it's always great to have more than one person helping it with the show, even if it's through text. So I'll get to these stories here. Let's see here. Do I have this? Yes, I do. Okay. All right. Okay, hopefully it'll work. I am still adjusting my two screens to figure out where they work the best for me. So, anyway. All right. So this one says, I think I read somewhere this has happened to some people before. About 6 months ago, I wanted to take a nap. I was fully conscious and awake, and I heard people talking in my pillow. There was no chance of being sleepy. There were sounds of women talking, dishes and cutlery, as if people were having a meal. My pillow has a synthetic filling. I modified its shape and put my ear on the pillow again. Voices were still there, a little echoey, as if heard through a pipe. I live in a 3-apartment building, but the other 2 apartments were empty at the time. The people talking seemed so real and close. I was wondering if some sound may propagate from a nearby building via underground. However, it felt unnaturally close. The nearest building is 30 meters away. As a bonus, perhaps, I used to hear footsteps and doors closing in the apartment above, although I knew for a fact my tenants were at their holiday house. Nobody would have access inside the building without me pressing a button. So that's an interesting one. It sounds like this is the writer of the story may have been the owner of the building. Based on just things they said in that story. As far as the voices from a pillow, I have no idea. I'm guessing that they knew what kind of pillow it is they bought. I know I've heard some pillows now come with speakers. I think I've heard that. I'm not sure. I guess I should have looked that up. But it's still odd sounds to be coming through that pillow, even if it was somehow a speaker. It's strange that those are the sounds that were coming through. But like I said, I feel like the person would know if there was a speaker, if they had bought a pillow with a speaker built into it. Or if it had been given to them, then they would know too. So, yeah, that's other than that, I don't know what else to say about that one because that is odd. So let's see here. Okay. Let's go on to the next story here. This one says, when I was young, one day I was sitting at my desk when I heard a voice call my name from outside multiple times. I didn't recognize the voice, but it was very clear that they knew me. It was clearly the voice of a child, but I couldn't tell if it was male or female, and I didn't recognize it. I went downstairs because the voice calling me sounded very excited to see me, and so I was excited to see them. When I came down, I called for them. I said, "Where are you?" They said, "I'm right here." And I could hear the voice coming from about 5 yards from where I was standing. I said, "Where?" The voice said, "I'm right here," very excitedly. Again, I heard the voice come from about 5 yards in front of me. I was looking right at where I heard this voice coming from. I looked in the trees and in the windows of the buildings nearby, but I couldn't see anyone. I said, "I can't see you." The voice said, "I'm right here." But I was looking there and couldn't see anything. One last time I said, "I'm sorry, I can't see you." Then I turned around, disappointed, and went back upstairs. I never heard the voice again. Side note, I know it wasn't any neighborhood kid because we didn't call each other like that. We would always see use the doorbell, which had a phone and buzzer. This person was calling from outside, ground level, while I lived up on the second story. No one ever said anything about calling me and me not seeing. What do you make of this? And that's where that one's. That is a really interesting one. It makes me feel like maybe somehow someone in some other, I don't know, some other universe or dimension slightly off the one that the writer was there and trying to contact them and could make sound go through, but then they couldn't be seen. Or if it was some kind of spirit, there too possibly. But either way, it sounds like there was someone there in some form or another that could be heard not seen. Um, it didn't sound. I mean, obviously the writer. I get the sense from the story that the writer maybe was a kid when this happened. Doesn't sound like the writer was afraid in any way. Doesn't sound like a frightening experience. So that's good. But it is really interesting to think of the possibilities there. What could have caused that? So, but anyway, I guess I'll move on to this next story here. And moving through these pretty fast today. We might get through all of them that I have, but we'll see. So this one says, my family moved to this house about 3 or 4 years ago. The first time I was there after coming back from school, I kept hearing these meows. I only ever hear these meows when I am at my parents' house. I remember the first time I heard it, it was really high-pitched and did not sound like my cat's. It's almost like a piercing meow or echoing. It's hard to explain, but it just didn't sound right. I was upstairs in my bedroom, and I went downstairs, where my mom was sitting on the couch with our 2 cats. I asked her if she heard that sound, but she looked confused. She hadn't heard anything. Then I asked if the cats had just been meowing. My mom said no, and they weren't. They were cuddled up and asleep on the couch. Okay. Sometimes the meows sounded like they were in the same room as me, and sometimes it sounded like it was coming from upstairs or somewhere else. Sometimes it sounded so near and loud it freaked me out. Sometimes my cats react, sometimes they don't. I often hear the meows coming from upstairs, and my cats like to stand at and stare at and paw at the door to the attic. Anyway, what cemented to me that there was a ghost cat in the house was one night I left my door cracked open for the cats and got in bed. I closed my eyes, laid there, and then I felt a cat hop on the bed. You know that feeling you can feel their weight walking and then settle at the end of the bed. My cats like the spot by the window. I didn't think of it at the time, but my door was only open slightly so that my cats could push it open to get through. I didn't hear it squeak open, nor was it open any wider than when I closed it. Anyway, with my eyes closed, I reached down to where I felt the movement to give my cat a pet and a scratch, except my hand landed on nothing. I opened my eyes fully and looked at the end of my bed, feeling around. No one. I was so beyond confused. I felt the cat there. Really, I really had. So I lay back down and tried to go to sleep. Except I felt movement again. My heart totally jumped, and I shot straight up and grabbed my glasses from my bedside table. I turned on my lamp, and there's nobody there. I went downstairs, and the cats were all downstairs. Anyway, after that, still freaked out, I spoke out into the world, hoping the cat spirit would understand. I don't like when you do that. I lost my spot. Okay, you are welcome to hang around here, but it makes me uncomfortable when you do that. It didn't happen again after that, but I still often hear those strange echoing meows. I have been starting to see flashes of a black cat around my ankles. I only ever experienced this at my parents' house. I don't know if it's my eyes playing tricks on me, but sometimes I swear I look down and see this random black cat near my feet, usually walking. And as soon as I notice the apparition, it's gone. And that's really interesting. I had to read that because that is just really interesting, that similarity between um, just some of my own experiences with the ghost cat. Except mine here is the one that's been here that I've seen a couple of times has been um, a white cat. So it's really interesting. I always like finding these stories. So, okay. I just found a setting in my PC that makes it a little better, actually. That's good. Wow. Okay. So, anyway, I just had to share that because, um, I always love ghost cat stories, and so I thought that was pretty neat. Let me see here. No, it doesn't really help, but oh well, that's okay. I'll work with it. Um, but anyway, so I've had that feeling before with the bed, the end of the bed. The cat walking on the bed. So, oh, that's neat. I like that name for it. So, Ken says that I had a cat named Ghost. I like that. That's I should have done that. Then again, maybe that would have been overkill for me. I don't know. But yeah. So I thought that was a neat story. So let's see here. Anyway, I guess I'll get back to the stories here and go from there. Let's see here. But yeah, it's really neat that they actually saw the cat near them too. Just for minutes. Um, oh, that's neat. For Kansas first years we had her, we only saw her in fleeting glimpses as she hid under the bed, and usually just made food disappear. Yeah, that's neat. I love cats, as anyone that knows me is aware. Um, so yeah, that's neat. Let's see here. I'm gonna change that back because that didn't really. That one setting that I thought was gonna help didn't really help. But that's okay. I'm still learning all this. So I love ghost cat stories, like I said. Um, and so I found that and I had to share it. I do think it's neat, like I said, that they saw this cat and Em says it was so that basically they only saw it just for a brief time. So, but anyway, so we'll go on with this next story here. Let's see. Get at least a few more in. Yeah. Okay. So this one says, in about 2020, myself, my new manager, and deputy all started working at a care home that had been there for 90 plus years. In the past, they had their own working mortuary, and the morgue was still on site. So the first week we had a tour of the building. When we got to the morgue, we locked the door and then went through the key-padded door. When the door locked, the green light then came on to say the code had been entered. This freaked us out, so we decided to have a break outside. And we saw a lady in black walking up the drive. After my deputy walked up the drive and couldn't see anyone, we just decided to hope it wasn't linked or anything weird. The next day I answered the phone to an older woman asking whether we had records for about 80 years ago, to which I said probably not. The older woman went on to explain about another woman she visited when she was younger, who was at the home. I asked her to explain who it was so I could see if there was anything. She explained that the night before she randomly thought of her. She then explained that the woman she visited always dressed in full black clothing and walked her up and down. I guess she walked her up and down the drive. This freaked me out big time. So, that's an interesting one there. Seems like maybe they've seen a ghost without realizing they saw a ghost at the time. So, but it's pretty amazing that they got that kind of confirmation. Wow. 22 years old for a cat. That is pretty long for a cat to live, I think, if I'm remembering right. So, but yeah, so I think that was a neat story. Apparently these three people all saw the same thing and then got confirmation that that maybe they had seen a ghost, possibly. So, anyway, that's a pretty good little description there. Older woman and all dressed all in black. So, never know. Could have been a time thing. Could have been a actual spirit. So, although they saw the woman walking alone, so maybe it was more of a spirit. I don't know. But anyway, we'll get on with this next story here. This one says, so my aunt and uncle built their house about 2 years ago. And we were talking recently, and ghosts came up in the conversation. My aunt began talking about strange happenings in the house, like all the doors closing in perfect order at night with no windows open, and hearing strange noises. A little scary, but the next is insomnia worthy. She was laying on the couch watching my little cousin, her son, playing, and all of a sudden he runs to her. She then sees a small figure up to the height of the handle, of the door in the corner of the room, in front of a door leading out to the hall. The figure looked to be an older woman who was, oh, that's interesting, who was all in black and hunched over. The woman's hands were clasped together, giving the appearance that she was begging or praying. All covered by an old-style black cloak with a hood, partially covering her face. My aunt was terrified, but she grabbed my cousin and sat down on the couch. She began talking to this figure. She was saying how this figure is always welcome and it can stay for however long it wishes, and so on. She also said a prayer. This figure stayed for about 20 minutes and didn't say a word. It made ever so slight movements, only barely moving its head occasionally, and then disappeared while she wasn't looking, as in she looked away and looked back to see it had gone. She checked the door and saw there was a shape left on the door and a rough shape of the figure. Its shape was almost burned into the door. Does anyone know what this could have been? The house is built on land where a lot of people starved to death during the Great Famine here in Ireland. I also apologize if this isn't written very well, as I just copied and pasted it from when I was telling a friend. So, that's the last part of that story almost gets me more than anything else. More than the apparition itself. Because it seemed to leave some kind of a it seemed to leave some kind of a mark on the door, I guess. Which is interesting. That does happen sometimes, although not often, I feel like. It reminds me of I think it's Resurrection Mary. I think I talked about that once. Graveyard haunting, where someone went to visit the cemetery and they saw a woman on the other side of the gates with her hands wrapped around the gates, and when the woman disappeared, the gates where she'd been holding on to them, the metal parts, or the metal, I don't know what you call them, rods or whatever, they were deformed as if they'd been basically hit with intense heat, but in the shape of hands or fingers wrapped around them. Excuse me. So but so that is interesting. I wonder how that is, like, how that it works, and what kind of. It seems like that would even take more energy than just appearing, which you hear all the time. People saying that just having any kind of appearance. So that's quite the story there. But anyway, and then the figure being in the house. Doesn't sound like it was a new house, but then again, they mentioned there was history of possibly trauma on the land, I guess you could say, in a way. So anyway, yeah, very interesting story. I'm gonna get some water here while I find the next story, and we will go from there. Let's see here. Okay, got it. But that's interesting. 2 stories in a row with figures in black clothes, not shadow figures, but figures in black clothes. Okay. So, let's check on the time here. Okay. Well, at least get through this one, then we'll see what happens from there. This one says, it was about 7 p.m. during a terrible thunderstorm. And as my mom was working late at night at my school for some project, she brought myself and my sisters and my sister's friend along with her because there was no one at home to watch us. I don't know where my mom took off to finish the project, but my sisters and I all walked into the school gym. We were very bored, so we just wandered around the gym jumping on the bleachers and doing stuff kids would do at a time like this. We all decided to sit down and tell some funny stories to pass the time. But that laughter soon turned into terror. We all noticed one of the lights was flickering on and off as it was going into some kind of pattern. It was kind of scary, but we didn't think much of it until every single light in the gym was flickering on and off in the same pattern. We all freaked out and started panicking. Keep in mind this was during a huge thunderstorm. As we were trying to run outside of the gym, we saw something. It took just one flash of lightning for us to see a figure of an old lady standing right in the middle of the gym. We ran out of the gym in terror as we didn't even know what we just saw or witnessed. And to this day, I still wonder what or who it really was that we saw that night. So that's an amazing. If that's that's either an amazing set of coincidences in a way, and that maybe the lightning, the storm outside, was causing the lights to flicker, or it's something or someone that was there actually used the power there from the storm and or from the building, and showed themselves to these kids. But and the lights and everything, that's really interesting. Now that reminds me of something that happened once to me, just a really quick sighting. So some years ago, this is kind of what happens when you have so many little things that happen. I don't even think I wrote this down in my I'm not sure if I wrote down in my book that I'm working on or not. But so at one point I moved into basically a town with a community college in it, and it was looking like I might go there. And I moved into this public housing apartment complex, and they had like a small meeting hall or dining hall, and there I was just walking around the building, getting an idea of where everything was. Of course, it was at night because that's when I'm usually the most awake, and of course wasn't even thinking of the possibility of anyone possibly like getting in there that shouldn't be there or whatever. But so I'm just walking around, and the lights are all on in the hallways, but I happened to walk by this cafeteria or this meeting room, dining hall. I think it was like a bunch of different things. But the lights were off in the room, but I saw just the just just the basically like a floating head of an older woman. I didn't see it in great detail, but I saw it just long enough to basically realize that's someone, and it was almost like it was made of this really faint light, and it was just floating there in the middle of the room. I didn't notice. I didn't look like it saw me, but it just floating in there. And looking off to the one side, I think. Don't know for sure, but it was just there, and I just decided, okay, well, that's interesting, and I just kept on going. Just kept on walking down the hallway, got out of there. So that's made me think of that. But so that's a neat little story there. Terrifying for the kids. I wonder what happened to cause that. And that also, I think we've talked about this before. It makes me wonder what 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 does weather do, especially like weather that puts out a lot of energy, either as lightning or as rain. What does that do to paranormal activity? Can ghosts or spirits or other beings draw power from it or manipulate it or use it to get around, maybe? It almost seems like, in a way, almost like a stereotypical portal, almost. Big storm outside, and just imagine this spirit or whatever just up there in the clouds, and it just comes down through the lightning and enters the building through, maybe even through the lights somehow. That was the other thing that really, as always, has me wondering. Yeah, supercharges it, maybe. And hello, APAC, I see you. I've seen you in chat there. I was just going over. Yeah, Cthulhu. Yeah, you never know. So, but yeah, I thought that was a neat story. And if you think about gyms, I mean, there's a lot of all those lights in the ceiling, and then possibly even along the walls and the scoreboards. That's a lot of electricity there. So, but anyway, I think that'll do it for today. So, I will do this again tomorrow night, like I said, and then I'll be doing a book review on Thursday, talking cryptids with Jen. At least that's the plan, anyways, as of now. On Friday, so yeah, it should be a good week. Looking forward to it. Good rest of the week. So thank you all for being here and for listening, whether it's for the live stream or the podcast feed or the YouTube video. And I will talk to you all tomorrow night on the next episode of Salcedo Paranormal. Have a good night.